About to be joined by, of course, former Dallas Cowboy man. I know Brian Broaddus knows very, very well. Cowboys defensive line coach, Greg Ellis. Greg, it hadn't been so long. We just got to catch up with you here at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You weren't on the staff just yet. Congratulations on the new position, my friend.
Hey, I appreciate it, guys. It's been amazing. It's like a huge family reunion, to be honest with you. And so I'm just thrilled to be back in the building. Different capacity, obviously, but it's great.
It's going to be exciting.
I always forget that, like, you're a former player, so
Yes.
you're going to be
really
a
good
giant
former
human.
player,
Yeah,
yeah.
we know. Like, it just threw me off.
I mean, he looks like one. Look at it. This is, man, I had to just push the mic up all the way.
I want to start with your background a little bit before we kind of dive into this draft, if that's all right. But being at the NAIA level and then coming to an NFL program, there's obviously a lot of adversity, a lot of challenges that you face at SAGU and at Texas College.
Yes.
How do you think that prepares you for the NFL and certain adversities that you might face in this building?
Man, you know what? I counted. It was a blessing and a joy for me to come through the rankings that way, because I truly had to earn my stripes. Meaning, I remember being in the basement at Texas College, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning by myself, washing the uniforms, all of that, cutting the grass, cutting lines in the field. So when somebody comes along to say, man, it was just given to Greg, it's like, no, wait a minute. I earned these stripes, you know what I mean? So I went through the process. It wasn't just because I played professional football, now you can coach somewhere in the NFL. And so I count that as a blessing for me, because it taught me, coming up through the rankings, of coaching rankings, if you would, the hard work that it takes to run a program.
And then NAIA not having scholarships, those kids love football. I mean,
Yeah.
there is a strong love for football, and I think that kind of marries itself with the staff. Does that kind of help you become closer to players in general? Do you feel like that helped as your time went on in NAIA?
It does. You know what, man, as I'm sitting in my office literally 5 minutes ago, I got a text a couple of days ago, and I finally got a chance to respond to one of the kids who was at Texas College. And so you develop relationships with those kids. Those kids, like you say, they don't get a lot to play football. They love football. And so it was good to be around a good bunch of young people like that.
That was my selfish moment. Y'all got it.
All good. Aisha, what do you got?
No, I think I saw yesterday that you feel like you saw some of yourself in Marshawn Nealon.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that? I would like to hear, what your perspective on it is.
And if I would have thought about it, I would have told Jerry and them yesterday. We sent I guess it was right before the draft, my agent sent one play in to the Cowboys, and it was a play. We was playing against TCU or SMU. I don't remember which one. I'm rushing the quarterback, and they throw a little flare pass out to the flats, and I spin out, hustle to the ball, and make the tackle. Neely reminds me of that kind of Greg Ellis, that guy that hustles. You see him running down the field. You don't see him taking plays off. And I'll be honest with you, nowadays, that's kind of hard to find, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, and we looked at a whole bunch of film.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen another guy that plays as hard as him. I promise. Even if we didn't draft him, I would say the same thing. I haven't seen another guy, defensive line guy that plays as hard as Marshawn does. He's hustles. After we drafted him, I went back and started watching more film, to be honest with you. But not just him being able to hustle. That's a trait. That's good. It's a good trait to have. But he has some things in his pass rushing ability as well that I see that, okay, we can tweak this and kind of help him get to that next level. So I told people last night, I said, I'm so excited. I feel like I got drafted all over again, except minus the money.
Sure.
But I didn't think I'd be that excited, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But to be able to draft a young man like that brings it to work every day, it's very exciting to me.
Yeah, you forced us in Philadelphia to take Trey Thomas when you went right ahead of us. We realized we couldn't block you coming out of North Carolina, so a lot of people had to draft tackles because of you. When you talk about, just as general, Greg, we've had a chance to visit. You're big on technique. You're big on that. Is that the coaching style when you're looking at your players you currently have, when you're working with your guys on the field? Is the thing about you're always trying to stress is the technique, or is there some other coaching point that you say, hey, I've got to get this through to my guys?
Technique, to me, Well, for one, the desire to be good, right. They got to have that. You know what I mean? And I stress the importance to those guys, whoever I'm coaching. Hey, man, you got to – that's a starting point. I can't put that in you, and so you got to have that. But secondly, for me, it's the technique. Yeah. It's technique, and I want them to understand the importance of technique. Now, you can't get out there and just go slow because you're thinking about technique all the time, but it has to be worked on so much in practice. And I tell the guys, man, when you're walking around, you got to be thinking about pass rushing. Yeah. It has to become part of your DNA. So when you get into football game, the technique that I'm teaching you guys, it's not just second nature, it's first nature. It's what you do first versus thinking about and doing it second. You understand? So, yes, the technique is what I'm all about.
When you look at Mozzie Smith, though, and then I know, and here you're new to the team this way, but you know who Mozzie Smith is. You're working with Mozzie. Where do you start? Where do you start with a guy that's so much expectations, and and you're trying to get to know the kid and build him up and help him? Where do you start with that?
That's the thing. First, for me, I had to get to know him. I hadn't been around him yet. Hadn't been at the voluntary stuff. So once, to me, you have to get to know where is he coming from. What is his why to why he plays football?
Right.
And that determines a whole lot of how you approach a kid, in my opinion. Yeah. And once we figure that out, I think he'll be fine. Yeah. I mean, here's one thing, Brian. They wouldn't have drafted him if he didn't have something in him that could get the job done.
Yeah.
Now, we got to push that button to help him see, okay, here's what it takes for his engine to really get started and get to going. And I don't foresee that being a problem.
Talking with Greg Ellis. We're going to continue the conversation on the .com side. We'll also continue our interviews with coaches and scouts. Day 3, Day of the Scouts. You're listening to the 2024 NFL Draft on 105.3 The Fan and DallasCowboys.com. Greg, one other thing I did want to ask you about was, when it comes to Marshawn Kneeland, he's doing a lot of different things. They're moving him around there at Western Michigan. I know you had to do hand in the ground, and then you also, when Bill Parcells came, you had to go stand up. He's already kind of got that, where he's got hand in the ground, stand up, move around, maybe go over the center. How much of an advantage is that already for him?
It's huge, in my opinion. I don't see Zim having him stand up, right? I mean, Zim's not going to switch to a 3-4 defense.
Yeah. No, unless Parcells tells him.
Exactly, right?
Which he can do.
Yeah, so we already have those kind of guys like Micah and those guys, Sam. Those guys can stand up and do the quick kind of stuff. But the fact that he can do it, in my opinion, speaks volumes to what he can develop into as a pass rusher with his hand in the dirt. Because if you can stand up and kind of dance with 1-2 with some guys, you really can come off the ball to 1-2 with some guys, in my opinion.
Last question for you here, Coach. When you look at when you've watched these guys coming out of college and you've studied some of these players, what is the technique trait that you look at and say, guys coming out right now, this is an area that's really deficient, that's common, and that whether it be hand usage or pad level or whatever else, what are you looking at saying this is something that's generally going to need to be repaired by rookies?
Hands. Now, with Neely, he does a lot with his hands, but it needs to be fine-tuned.
Right.
Yes.
Hands are kind of all over the place, to be honest with you. And I appreciate that, because that tells me, okay, he understands I need to use these things, right, to pass rush. And so I think we'll be able to help him really quick.
Thank you.
Coach, thank you so much.
Yes.
We really appreciate it, man. Congratulations on Marshawn Kneeland. Let's see if we get you some more help today.
There you go.
You're
Thank
the man.
you guys. Y'all take care.
Thank you. There he goes, Greg Ellis, one of your newest Cowboys position coaches, an absolute badass here.